In this video, we're talking about thermoregulation, perspiration, and fevers. And this is a pretty important video because most of our kids with PANS have some sort of temperature control issues. The most common one that we see is difficulty with heat. So let's be really honest, that's not as useful, right? Like I feel like we're on repeat with these videos that this thing that's really common isn't useful for helping us find a good homeopathic remedy. That being said, we should take a look at it. What's really useful is if a kiddo is really sensitive to cold. So if your kiddo is sensitive to cold, we for sure want to know. If they're sensitive to both heat and cold, we definitely want to know. We want to know any specifics about it too. Is it any type of cold, or is it specifically cold winds that are problematic? Is it feeling internal heat, or is it sensitivity to heat in the environment? There are some kids that will have that feeling of internal heat, but they are fine being in a really hot environment. So that can also be really useful. And then if there's a specific place in the body that temperature is felt, that's really helpful. So like, do you feel the heat in your belly and it radiates out? Do you feel hot everywhere but cold hands and feet? Holy cow, that's a useful symptom. And then in addition to the sensations of heat or cold, are there color changes of the skin associated with it? So do you have chill and blue or purple hands and feet? Do you have redness everywhere? Do you have perspiration only of the head? Do you have perspiration only? We're jumping into a different topic with perspiration. So I'm going to pause there. Anything you want to add about heat or chill?
No, that covers it. I guess in chill, I would also mention like goosebumps and shivering and shuddering. You can just be cold and not have goosebumps, or not be, shuddering cold. Or if you have any fluctuation in timing with those, so like you go from hot to cold to shuddering, or you go from shuddering to cold to hot, or perspiring. So the order of temperature symptoms, especially in relationship to fever or hot flashes, can be really helpful. So kind of knowing like, ooh, I get hot when I wake up, and then I start perspiring, and then I get a chill, then I take off my blanket, then I put my blanket back on, and then I'm too hot, right? Those are the specifics that are really pertinent.
In addition to this, before we move on to perspiration, we can also have temperature symptoms associated with mental or emotional symptoms. So do you get anxiety and get really hot with anxiety, or do you get really cold and then have some of those chills and shivering sort of sensations as well? And, again, with like the heat, is there specific spots? So like, do the soles of your feet get really hot? Do you have to kick them out from under the covers? Is the palms of your hands what's really hot? Are your ears hot and red? The specific location can actually make a difference. So let's shift gears and talk a little bit about perspiration. Believe it or not, perspiration can come with heat or with chills. So what we might ask, people think, oh, you only perspire when you're hot. We're going to ask, is it hot sweat or is it cold sweat? Dr. Petersons, do you want to take off with anything related to like location and all that stuff with sweat?
Yeah, perspiration is such an important topic and so overlooked often. So are you sweating from your head? Are you sweating from your chest? Are you sweating from your feet? What's the smell? Is it odorous? Is it only odorous on your feet? Or do you smell like a musty bear? Or do you smell like honey and flowers, or onion, right? Those are all very unique, and for homeopathy, perspiration can be so telling. Like you said, cold and hot perspiration, and then perspiration tied to any of those other symptoms, along with potentially anxiety. That's a one that I sweat from my head and I can't stop sweating during anxiety, or when I'm eating, I'm sweating, or sleeping, times of day with perspiration, chill, heat, all of that. Very helpful too. Is it only at noon that you have your hot flashes?
Right. And then we touched a little bit on thirst as it relates to the stomach and gastrointestinal symptoms. But Thirst can come up here too. So if there's perspiration with no thirst, that can be useful to know versus perspiration with excessive thirst. So anything related to the perspiration, we could really potentially find useful.